Hey guys, this is going to be a 6th grade review on percentages. This is kind of a light review. This is not as thorough as I'd like it to be, but we're going to just cover a few things regarding this unit. Alright, so the first question we see here is what are the shaded region as fractions and percentages? So here you can see that this is a 10 by 10 grid, which means that there's 100 squares here, right? So as a fraction, we're going to count it out of 100 for both of these. So we're going to look at the shaded region. You can see this is a 5 by 5 here and another 5 by 5. So there's 25 here and there's 25 here. You add those together, obviously you're going to get 50. So 50 over 100, you put that in lowest terms. If we divide the top and bottom by 50, we'd get 1/2. So as a fraction in lowest terms, it'd be 1/2. So 1/2 of it is shaded. And then as a percentage, anything over 100 is that number as a percentage. So it would be 50%. Okay, so you've got your fraction, you've got your percentage. Real quick, also percentages, the root word there, cent, per cent. So per means every, or yeah, I guess every, and cent means 100, or of 100, if you will. So every of 100. Like century is 100 years. Cent is, 1 cent out of a dollar, so there's 100 cents in a dollar. So that's the purpose of what percentages are. It's out of 100. It's always going to be out of 100. Here, number 2, you see you've got 3 rows of 10, and then you got this last row there's only 8 there. So 10 plus 10 plus 10 is 38. So 38 out of 100. So this is going to be 38%. And then if you want to take that and simplify it, you can. As a fraction, that would work just like 50 over 100 would work as a fraction. But in lowest terms, typically you do want to simplify that. So you divide this by 2, and you divide this by 2. Sorry about that. So it's got a very loud exhaust out here. Okay, so that would be a 19 over 50 in lowest terms. But again, this is a fraction's okay. This, yes, it would be better if you simplified it, just like back here. So anyways, there's that. All right, so further on, if we had to take these fractions and convert them to a decimal or a percentage, how do we write these as a decimal? Well, the conventional way, a lot of times people would just divide 16 by 40, or they divide 15 by 50, or 12 by 60, and do long division that way. That might take a while. It is a way. It's not my favorite way, but it is a way. I would basically set this equal to 100. Now, if you set it equal to 100, let me start with number 4. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If you set this equal to 100, you know that 50 can go into 100 2 times, right? So if this can go in 2 times, that means you're going to multiply the top by 2 as well to get your actual answer. So 15 times 2 is 30, and we know that 30 over 100 is 30%, right? So that's going to be your percentage. And as a decimal, what you do is, if you see here, the decimal is always at the end. If you don't see it, if it's not given to you, it's at the end. And if you go from a percentage to a decimal, you always move the decimal point to the left 2 times. So if we move it 2 times to the left, it's going to end up in front of the 3. So as a decimal, it's going to be 0.3, or if you want to leave that 0 there, you can. It's not going to hurt anything. 0.30 would be fine as well. So that's going to be your decimal, and that's going to be your percentage. Okay? Now here, the problem with these two here is those two cannot go into 100 evenly. 40 cannot go into 100 evenly. 60 cannot go into 100 evenly. Okay? Not possible. So how do we do that? How do you set this equal to 100? Well, if you think about it, 16 over 40 can be divided by 4. And then why do I want to divide this by 4? I could simplify this completely, right? We can simplify this as low as we can, but if you do that, you might end up getting to a number that cannot go into 100. So my suggestion is I would take this bottom number, this denominator, and take it to a number that you know can go into 100. So for example, I know I can divide this by 4 to get 10. And I know that 10 can go into 100, right? Because if I take it over 100, just like for number 1, number 2, I can find the percentage out pretty quickly. So 40 divided by 4 is 10. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Now I can go from 10 to 100. 10 times 10 is 100. 4 times 10 is 40. So there I have my percentage. 40 over 100 is 40%. So I've got that. And then 40%, again, decimals here, move it to the left 2 times. 1, 2. So this is going to be 0.40 or 0.40 or 0.4. Again, having that 0 afterwards is not going to hurt it, but you technically don't need it. Okay? You do need the 1 in the ones place, though. Okay? You need something there to hold the ones place. Kind of like a placeholder here. Okay, so 12 over 60, same thing. 60 cannot go into 100, right? But if I can change this to a 10, if I can divide this by 6 and divide this by 6, that'll work. So divide this by 6, divide this by 6, I get 10 on the bottom. 10 is my denominator, and 2 is my numerator. Now 10 can go into 100 10 times, right? So 2 times 10 is 20. So that's going to end up being 20%. And as a decimal, again, move it to the left 2 times, 0.20. So 0.20. All right. Going further here, if we write each decimal as a fraction and as a percentage. So this is kind of like backwards. So instead of going from a percentage to a decimal, we're going from a decimal to a percentage. So what you're going to do is you're going to move the decimal to the right 2 times. So if I move this decimal to the right 2 times, we get to 52%. And you know that 52% is just 52 over 100. Now you can simplify this. You can divide this by 2, divide this by 2, and get down to 26 over 50, then divide by 2 again, get 13 over 25, right? Eventually you'll get down to lowest terms. Now, do you have to simplify it? Not necessarily. 52% and 52 over 100 is just fine as it is. But if you wanted to simplify it, you could. But we'll leave it as it is. 1.35 is going to be 135% because when you move 2 places to the right, you're going to get 135, and it's going to be 135%. And that as a decimal, as a fraction, is going to be 135 over 100. And then you can change that to a mixed number, which would be 1 and 35 hundredths. And then divide by 5 to get 7 over 20. So it would be 1 and 7/20. So it could equal to 1 and 7/20. But again, like I said earlier, you don't have to simplify it unless you have to. It's good to do that, but for now, we're just going to leave it as it is. As we get a little bit further, maybe in 7th grade, that would be good to do. And your teacher, like I said, this is just what I expect from my students, but your teacher may want you to simplify it. A lot of times they do, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's good practice. 0.27 is 27%. 2 places to the right, so you get 27%. 27 over 100. You can't simplify that. That's that. Okay, moving on. How do we write each percentage as a fraction and as a decimal? So here, again, from a percentage to a decimal, you're just going to move the decimal to the left 2 times. Because basically, if you think about it, 58% is 58 over 100, right? You're dividing 58 by 100. When you divide by 100, you're moving the decimal to the left 2 times. That's what's happening. So when you move it 2 places to the left, it's going to end up in front of the 5. So it's going to be 0.58, or in this case, 0.58. That's going to be your decimal. Of course, you could simplify 58 over 100. You could divide by 2 and get 29 over 50. But again, it depends on whether or not you want to simplify it. For right now, I'm not going to simplify it. I'm just going to leave it as this for now. 67% is going to be 67 over 100. You cannot simplify that at all. Nothing can go into 67. I believe 67 is prime. I'm trying to think real quick. I can't think of anything that would go into 67 at this moment. So I'm going to assume that it is prime. Okay, so this can be a fraction. And then as a decimal, again, you're going to move it to the left 2 places. So it's going to be 0.67 or 0.67. 125%, 125% per over 100. You could simplify it like I did this one here. This would be 1 in 25 hundredths, or in lowest terms, 1 in 1/4. But again, we're just going to leave it like this for now. Okay? And then you move the decimal to the left 2 times. 1, 2. So it's going to end up between the 1 and the 2. So the decimal is going to end up being 1.25. Remember, 1 represents 100%. So 125% is 100% plus 25%. 100% plus 25%. Okay, last but not least, in an effort to keep this video as small, or not small, short as I can. Thinking in different terms apparently here. Okay, so how do you find a percentage of a number? So 40% of 18. Okay, there's 2 different ways you can do it. The most common way is you just multiply, right? Of means multiply. So you want to take 40% and change it to a decimal. So 0.40 times 18 is typically how people do it. They just multiply the 2 together, change it to a decimal, multiply, and you're done. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. It's a good way of solving it. When I multiply it, though, I don't add the 0. I leave the 0 out. It's less to multiply. So I just multiply it together. 32, 7, ends up being 7.2. Done. Okay? That's probably one of the easiest ways to do it. 13, 19% is going to be 0.19. We're going to times it by 45. So I take 0.19 times it by 45. Again, it doesn't matter which one's on top, which one's on the bottom. This is fine. 45, 9, 0. Add a 0 for your second line. 4 times 9 is 36. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7, and then 0. And then add up your 2 lines together. You got 2 decimals here, no decimals here, so 2 total goes right here. So 8.55 is going to be your answer for that one. So 19% of that is going to be 8.55. Okay, moving on. 110% of 22. Change that to a decimal. 1, 2, so 1.10 times 22. When we multiply it, again, you don't need that 0 after the decimal. You can actually take that off to keep things a little bit easier. So times it by 22. I'll put that on the bottom because multiplying by 1 is simple, right? 1 times 22 is 22. 0, 22 again. 2, 4, 2. 1 decimal here, 1 decimal here. So that's going to equal 24.2. Now, that's typically how people do it. They're just going to multiply your percentage, change it to a decimal, multiply it by 18, and then you're done. But quickly, and I'm just going to do it for this one, 40% is typically a relatively simple percentage, okay? It's not overly complicated, okay? This one actually is not overly complicated as well. But if you think about it, 10% of 18, so 10%, what you do for 10% is you simply move the decimal to the left 1 time. So the decimal is right here. So if we move that to the left 1 time, it becomes 1.8. So 10% of 18 equals 1.8, right? Well, you got 40%, so you got 4 of these things, right? So if we times that by 4, or add 10% plus 10% plus 10% plus 10%, we get 40%. If you take 1.8 and add 1.8, 1.8, 1.8, add them all up together, you should get 7.2. In this case, I just multiply by 4. And you should get 7.2. Okay? That's just another way of looking at it, using 10%. And there's a whole, I do have a video on this, using mental percentages. It's a great way to do percentages mentally. You can do basic percentages. 19%, you can even do 19%, believe it or not. I'm not going to do that now, but this one, well, just real quick, you would do 20%. 10% would be 4.5. 4.5 plus 4.5 is 9. And then you take 1% away. 1% would be, you move the decimal to the left 2 times. So it would be 9 minus 0.45, which would be 8.55. But anyways, I digress. Let's get going. Let's wrap this up. Guys, have a great day, and I will catch you guys later in the next video. Good luck, and I hope this has helped somewhat in some level, and God bless. All right, bye-bye.